This fragment is taken from the third part of In Parenthesis. Proceed without lights, prostrate before it. He begins without title, silently, immediately, in a low voice, omitting all that is usually said. No blessing is asked, neither is the kiss of peace given. He sings alone. Cloud shielded, her bright disk rising, yet her veiled influence illumined the texture of that place, her glistening on the saturated fields. Bat night gloom intersilvered where she shone on the mist adrift. When they paraded, at the ending of the day, unrested bodies, wearied from the morning, troubled in their minds, frail bodies loaded overmuch, apprentices bearing this night the full panoply, the complex paraphernalia of their trade. The ritual of their parading was fashioned to austerity and bore a new directness. They dressed to an hasty alignment. They did not come to the slope by a habit of their bodies conforming to monosyllabic, low-voiced ordering. They moved rather as grave workmen than as soldiers from their billet's brief shelter. For John Ball, there was in this night's parading, for all the fear in it, a kind of blessedness. Here was borne away with yesterday's remoteness and accumulated tedium, all they'd piled on since enlistment day. A whole unlovely order this night would transubstantiate, lend some grace to. Knobbed nickel at underarm, thumb at seam, smart cut away from the small, and hair on upper lip invests him with little charm. Renumbering, redressing, 2-inch overlap, pernickety poshers up, drum majors gnashing in their blancoed paradises, twisted pipe-clad knots for square-pushing shoulders, tin soldiers, toy soldiers, military men in rows. You somehow suffer the pain of loss. It's an ungracious way of life. Buttocked lance jacks crawling for the second chevron, band boys in the wet, the unnameable nostalgia of depots. When you're ready, number 7, sling those rifles. Move them on, Sergeant. Remain 2 deep on the road. We join 5, 6, and 8 at the corner. Don't close up. Keep your distance from number 6. Be careful not to close up. Take heed, those leading files, not to close on number 6. You're quite ready? Very good. Move on. Move on. Get on, we're not too early. Informal directness buttressed the static forms, ritual words made newly real. The immediate, the nowness, the pressure of sudden modifying circumstance, and retribution following swift on disregard. Some certain malignant opposing brought intelligibility and effectiveness to the used formulae of command. The liturgy of their going up assumed a primitive creativeness, an apostolic actuality, a correspondence with the object, a flexibility. and the rain slacks at the wind veer, and she half breaks her cloud cover. He puts up a sufficient light, dead over the neb, and in its moments hanging star still, sheds a singular filament of peace to these fantastic undulations. He angled rigid, head and shoulders free, his body's inclination of the extreme thrust of the saphead, outward toward them like the calm breasts of her silent above the cutwater, foremost toward them and outmost of us, and brother keeper and ward watcher, his messmates sleeping like long barrow sleepers, their dark arms at reach, spell sleepers thrown about anywhere under the night. And this one's bright brow turned against your boot leather, tranquil as a far sheathed sleeper under fairy tumuli, fair as Mac-Og sleeping, who cocks an open eye when you stamp your numbed feet on the far-step slats, who tells you to stow it, to put a sock in it, to let a man sleep all nights, and redistributes his cramped limbs and draws closer over his woolen comforter. You shift on the boards a little to beat your toes against the revetment where this other sits upright, wakeful and less fastidious at an angle of the bay, who speaks without turning his head to you, his eyes set on the hollow night beyond the parados, he nursing his rifle, the bayonets flat to his cheekbone, his syntax of the high hills and the sharp inflection. Starving night indeed, important to keep the circulation. They're starving for you. Important to keep the circulation. Yes, Corporal. Did you see anything, Sentry? Nothing, Corporal. One ball, is it? No? Yes, Corporal. Keep a sharp outlook, Sentry. It is the most elementary disciplines. Sights at 350. Yes, Corporal. 300, perhaps. Yes, Corporal. Starving as brass monkeys, as the Arctic bear's arse. Yowl. Starved as pen and govid on the confines of hell. Unwise it is to disturb the sentinel, and the deepened stillness as a calm cast over us, a potent influence over us and him, dead calm for this Sargasso-Denk and for the creeping things. You can hear the silence of it. You can hear the rat of no man's land, rut out intricacies, weasel out his patient workings, scrot, 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 harrow out earthly, trowel his cunning paw, redeem the time of our uncharity to sap his own amphibious paradise. You can hear his carrying parties rustle our corruptions through the night weeds, contest the choicest morsels in his tiny conduits, bead-eyed feast on us by a rule of his nature, at night feast on the broken of us. Those broad-pinioned, blue-burnished or brinded back, whose proud eyes watched the broken emblems droop and drag dust, suffer with us this metamorphosis. These too have shed their fine feathers. These too have slimed their dark bright coats. These too have condescended to dig in. The white-tailed eagle at the battle ebb, where the sea wars against the river. The speckled kite of Malden and the crow have naturally selected to be unwinged, to go on belly, to sap, sap, sap with festered spines, arched under the moon, furret with whiskered snouts the secret parts of us. When it's all quiet, you can hear them. Scrut, scrut, scrut. When it's as quiet as this is, it's so very still. Your body fits the crevice of the bay in the most comfortable fashion imaginable. It's cushy enough. The relief elbows him on the fire step. All quiet, China, bugger old report. Kipping, mate, Christ, mate, you'll have 'em all over. This is from part 7 of In Parenthesis. You drop apprehensively, the sun gone out. Strange airs smite your body, and muck rains straight from heaven, and everlasting doors lift up for O2 weevil. You can't see anything but sheen on drifting particles, and you move forward in your private bright cloud, like one assumed who is borne up by an exterior volition. You stumble on a bunch of 6 with Sergeant Quilter, getting them out again to the proper interval. And when the chemical thick air dispels, you can see with great clearness what kind of a show this is. The gentle slopes are green to remind you of South English places, only far wider and flatter spread, and grooved and harrowed criss-cross whitely, and the disturbed subsoil heaped up albescent. Across upon this undulated board of verdure checkered bright, when you look to left and right, small drab bundled pawns, severally made effort, moved in tenuous line. And if you looked behind, the next wave came slowly, as successive surfs creep in to dissipate on flat shore. And your front stretched long laterally and receded deeply, the dark wood. Now the gradient runs more flatly toward the separate scarred saplings, where they make fringe for the interior thicket, and you take notice. There between the thinning uprights at the margin, straggled, tangled oak and flayed sheeny beech bole, and fragile birch whose silver queenery is draggled and ungraced, and June shoots lopped and fresh stalks bled, runs the jelly trench, and corkscrew stapled tripwire to snare among the briars, iron warp with bramble weft, meadow sweet and lady smock for a fair camouflage. Mr. Jenkins half inclined his head to them. He walked just barely in advance of his platoon, and immediately to the left of Private Ball. He makes the conventional sign, and there is the deeply inward effort of spent men who would make response for him and take it at the double. He sinks on one knee and now on the other. His upper body tilts in rigid inclination this way and back. Weighted lanyard runs out to full tether, swings like a pendulum, and the clock run down. Lurched over, jerked iron saucer over tilted brow, clamped unkindly over lip and chin, nor no ventile to this darkening. The masked face lifts to grope the air, and so disconsolate, enfeebled fingering at a paltry strap. Buckle holds him blind against the morning, then stretched still, where weeds pattern the chalk predella, where it rises to his wire, and Sergeant T. Quilter takes over. The sacred princes between the leaning trees have diadems given them. Life the leveller hugs her impudent equality. She may proceed at once to less discriminating zones. The queen of the woods has cut bright boughs of various flowering. These knew her influential eyes. Her awarding hands can pluck for each their fragile prize. She speaks to them according to precedence. She knows what's due to this elect society. She can choose 12 gentlemen. She knows who is most lord between the high trees and on the open down. Some she gives white berries, some she gives brown. Emil has a curious crown. It's made of golden saxifrage. Fatty wears sweet briar. He will reign with her for 1,000 years. For Balder she reaches high to fetch his. Ulrich smiles for his myrtle wand. That swine Lillyweight has daisies to his chain. You'd hardly credit it. She plats talks of equal splendor for Mr. Jenkins and Billy Crower. Hansel with Goronwy share dog violets for a palm, where they lie in serious embrace beneath the twisted tripod. Sean gets St. John's wort, that's fair enough. Dyed greatcoat, she can't find him anywhere. She calls both high and low. She had a very special one for him. She carries to an Arren in the Nulla a rowan sprig of the glory of Gwenadotia. You couldn't hear what she said to him because she was careful for the disciplines of the wars.